let's start off with that basic first premise, and it's the first point in your additional notes here. We have a safer financial system now. Is that because of regulators or technology, or a combination of both?
I think it's mostly due to regulation. If you look at how the banks are capitalized today, the amount of liquidity they have inside them, they're way stronger than they were before the crisis. And that, of course, is a good thing. Some would argue that there's still some way to go in that regard. But actually, the most profound force bearing down on the industry now is technology. And it was interesting to hear Inga Beale talking about Lloyd's. My wife worked at Lloyd's in the 80s, and I remember sitting in Leadenhall Market watching people carry these huge slipcases around. Yeah. And actually, what's important about that is financial businesses are data-based businesses. They're just data. What was in those slipcases was a set of information. And of course, with technology now, you can automate that. When you automate it, you can get a lot of efficiency and effectiveness.
So when you were sitting in the land waiting for your wife to come over, and you could have still done that this year, and they'd still be carrying those slipcases. And that's the problem that Inga has faced, that Lloyd's was just so far behind the technological advances that we've seen. And she's had to drag those underwriters into the 21st century, drag them out the corny and barrow as well. But what about the banking sector? This is well ahead of the insurance industry?
I think it's somewhat ahead, but I wouldn't say well ahead, right? If you go back to the 60s, there's been a huge deployment of technology. Think about ATMs, think about credit cards, think about internet banking, mobile banking, and then less visible things like credit bureaus, derivatives. All of these things were made possible because technology was available, and available at a much cheaper price point. But what hasn't happened is we haven't seen the same sort of transformation in financial services that you see in areas like retailing, travel, how people spend their time, content distribution, those sorts of things. And that's where we are now, because the technology's reached a price point and a capability where you can imagine a total re-architecting of the system. And I believe that actually we'll end up with a safer system that works better for customers and actually ultimately better for the banks.
I feel as though banking has not changed for me for many years. I mean, we don't go into banks anymore. We've not been doing that for many years. Go to an ATM, do online banking. How big a difference are we going to see in the customer experience from what we have today, say, in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, actually, there have been some quite significant changes in the way people manage their money. The shift to mobile, for example. I mean, when internet banking came along, it didn't really make that much difference. Because people had to go home or go to work, sit at their computer. Now, because we do everything on our phones, we've got that habit. We use internet banking, mobile banking, it's faster, it's more immediate. And similarly with things like contactless technology now, where people are paying for goods and services, coffees and so on, much more quickly. But actually, that's really just in the foothills of this change. The really big change is when actually technology makes the customer smarter and takes away that sort of information mismatch between what the customer knows about their finances and what banks and others have to offer. So if you're in the market for a mortgage today, you probably go to a mortgage broker. That is a face-to-face, quite laborious process where lots of information has to be collected by you, sent to the mortgage broker, and then they have to deal with various banks. That whole process could be automated. You could deal with an app on your phone which will do that entirely for you, that will gather and curate all the information about you and then go and get you the best deal in the mortgage market. And the great thing for customers about that is they don't have to worry anymore. They don't have to worry that they're making good decisions. They don't have to worry that they're getting the best deal. And these are the sorts of innovations we're going to see coming.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.